Real. That's all it's called? Okay. Real. Keep it real. Uni disappeared from sight. And not just Uni, the snowfield, the gentle slope of the hill, the vast sky had all vanished too. The only thing that remained, the same was the bewitching madder red surrounding me. Only that and nothing more. Present time, 4:30 p.m. Damn it. Once again I'd failed to get the truth out of Uni. Refused to dwell on it, I quickly left the room. When in Sphere, I had no choice but to focus on matters in Sphere. At Tori's room, when I opened the door, I found her and Uni laying on the bed. What's wrong? I felt slightly relieved at the sight of her safe. Uni was keeping his promise to keep an eye on her. No, it's nothing. Without saying another word, I left the room. Next, it's Sumi's. The door was unlocked, but I couldn't see her anywhere inside the room. I heard sounds coming from the bathroom indicating that she was taking a shower, though. I closed the door, trying not to make a sound, and returned to the living room. I left my body sink in the sofa. Clasping both hands behind my head, I heaved a sigh. All my nerves were on the edge, and I couldn't calm down. I couldn't possibly calm down. Natsumi's out to kill Hattori, someone's out to kill me. The shelter cabins run out of fuel, Uni's behavior there is battling as it gets. How the heck did it come to this? How many times have I recited those very same words by now? Thinking back, it was on January 11th. It all began after I went up to the clock tower. Why I did that, I still don't know. I'm not even sure how I got up there in the first place. The entrance led into the roof on the clock tower. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know why, but there must be a way to up there. I decided to search Sphere. It could still be a place I've overlooked hidden away somewhere. By the way, have I had another choice that I forgot to go to? Yeah, I forgot to go back here. It doesn't matter. There could be still a place I've overlooked hidden away somewhere. As I had thought, I decided to head down to the storeroom first. Yeah, there's like a doorway in the storeroom. I think that leads to the clock tower. I went down to the stairs and reached the storeroom. I found some crates piled up unnaturally in the corner. I moved them out of the way. Yep, a door came into view. I found it so quickly it was almost a little anticlimactic, just like when I opened the front gate. Had I by chance known about this door from the start? I had that feeling. There was a card reader terminal on the wall beside the door. The Sphere front gate opened with the ID card. So maybe this door... I pulled the card out of my pocket and inserted it into the reader. Oh, door opened. Pushed it open and stepped into the darkness as if drawn in. On the other side of the door, an empty room spread out into the dim light. Where am I? Squinting, I took a look around. It was a small room. I walked around, asserting its layout. There was an iron door on the left-hand side of the room. Another room deeper underground. I decided to leave the door for later and continue with my examination. Next to the door was an enormous machine resembling a supercomputer. It was currently operational. I could hear the dull sound of a fan echoing through the room. On the other side was a single chair, enshrined by a bank of control panels. Above the panels was an array of monitor screens. The images reflected in each monitor barely illuminated the grey room. Upon further inspection, they appeared to be showing areas of Sphere. Every private room, the living area, the kitchen, the basement storeroom, the front entrance, the gate, the basketball court. This could be a surveillance room. I've never noticed them, but it looked like Sphere had hidden cameras positioned everywhere. It's obvious if you think about it. The facility is a specified psychiatric hospital for isolation negers. Of course, there would be equipment for keeping the inmates under surveillance. Nevertheless, what happened to the guards supposed to be stationed here? Or any of the staff for that matter? The question that had nagged at me earlier reared its head once more. There was another room back there. Where did it lead? Going by the layout on the upper floor, it should be a private room, but I slowly walked over to the door. Something made me glance back at the control panel. I noticed a folded sheet of paper there. Picked it up and spread it out flat. It was a map of Japan. One part of the map, the Hokkaido and Tokyo region, had faded for some reason. I put it back where I'd found it. Beside it was a cup of coffee, while steam rose from it, white steam. I felt a chill run down my spine. The fact it's still hot means that it's freshly poured, and then in turn means there's someone else here. Praying for their arrival, I braced myself. Who is it? Where are they hiding? At that moment I thought that. The lights in the ceiling came on. The grey room was flooded with light. Welcome, an unfamiliar male voice. I turned around and jumped back as they repelled. There stood a man. I've been waiting for you. I was just thinking it was about time for you to show up. Waiting for me? Who the hell is this guy? I didn't recognize him at all. No, it's strange. Something isn't right. What is it, this feeling? I don't know this man, I've never met him. And yet, within the memory store in my hippocampus, fragments of something almost forgotten resurface and submerged again and again. I almost feel like as though I've known him for years. It was the same feeling I had when I met Yomogi in uni. Is this connected to my lost or maybe transplanted memories? You. I managed to wring a few words from my dry throat. Who are you? Hearing those words, the man shrugged his shoulders in disappointment. Really, this is quite troublesome. Seems you really did forget everything. I am Enemertanalia. What? What? But that's the... No. No, what? So basically, this guy's watching us. And in the ending where Sami and Hattori die, he goes insane because of it? How about now, still don't remember? As I thought I know this man, no, I knew him. But even when I heard his name, I couldn't remember a single thing about him. Or maybe it's not that I couldn't, but that I didn't want to. Am I subconsciously blocking out my memories of this guy? Since you're making a weird face, I guess you really don't. Well, so be it. Never mind me. It's a trifling matter, compared to the importance of what's taking place here and now. What's taking place here and now? You don't get it, I'm talking about what's happening to you right now. What? Don't tell me the personality exchange. Well, perhaps the person trying to kill me. Anyway, this is quite a pain. We suddenly have found ourselves in a troublesome state of affairs. I should have never let you go up to the clock tower. What did he say? What if? What if the shadow that appeared behind me on the clock tower had been this man? The one who pushed me off. And he tried again and again to kill me. Oh, what's wrong? Was it you? The one who pushed me off the clock tower? And tried to murder me? Was it you? Amojo suddenly flashed me a chilly smile and pushed his sunglasses out the bridge of his nose. Should I say that as a yes or no? Why would you answer? Was it a yes? Was it you or not? I have no need to answer that. It's a meaningless question. And yet another trifling matter. Trifling? My life is on the line. You're saying it's meaningless. Or has this all been your doing from the start? Enemerto and I glared at each other for a while. Well, I was glaring at Enemerto, that's for sure. But unfazed by my attitude, Enemerto was just watching me coolly. You want to know? Huh? Do you really want to know who's trying to kill you? Obviously. I can't die just yet. And first of all, why should I have to die for God knows what reason? Is it going to be like, oh, everyone's trying to kill you? Is that what's going to happen? I'll catch the killer and then I'll make them tell me everything. Looking away from me, Enemerto muttered, I don't think that will do you any good, though. Even if you did find out, as you are now, would only serve to confuse you. What do you mean? Yeah, oh well. If you want to know that badly, I'll show you later. Show? I just finished organizing all the data from before when you got here. Enemerto ignored my question and continued. I can show you the scene you wish to see, just as you wish to see it. What's he going on about? What the hell does that mean? But as I said before, even if I showed you to you as you are now... Oh, but as I said before, even if I showed you to you as you are now, it would be meaningless. Besides, in the end I would barely scratch the surface. What's truly important, what's happening with you, you can't even imagine. Happening within me? Is he talking about the personality exchange phenomenon? Do you get it? What's truly important is what your eyes can see. The truth can't be seen with a pair of eyes alone. The truth. Enemerto raised his index finger and gently touched it to his forehead. This is where you truly see the truth. I don't know why, but Enemerto's words momentarily overwhelmed me. I had no idea what he was talking about, but his words cut right to the heart, as though he'd cast a spell over me. That's not it. Maybe I knew from the beginning that there was meaning behind Enemerto's words. Now then, this should be satisfactory. What you need to know right now, the things you must know, don't simply concern your physical safety. I'll explain the more important parts to you. You do know what I'm talking about, don't you? The personality exchange.
Correct. As I thought, you're no fool.
Enomoto curved his lips into an over-wide grin.
Well, where shall I begin?
With those words, Enomoto walked over to the chair in front of the console. I like how he's got the same pose as Satoru in a way.
Rather, I wonder, how far back do you remember?
And Enomoto sat down, leaned against the back of the chair, and asked that of me.
Let's start from here.
What I know?
Yes, please do tell me.
Enomoto laid an elbow on the armrest and propped up his chin in his hand, urging me to begin. Trinity. I closed my eyes and thought over everything I'd come to understand thus far. Was there any quick words? Nope. After that, I softly resumed speaking. About my Proposition R, personality exchange. My goal at both Aosagi Island and Sumitori, Godstar 1, and Enomoto took great interest in it, and I even managed to come across new realizations from time to time as I listened to him speak. However, he had no interest in R2 and R3, and it seemed like he was ignoring me outright when I brought them up. Once I finished, Enomoto leaned back in his chair.
Bravo!
And congratulated me with a smattering of light applause.
No, that was truly splendid. You did well in deriving that much from such a limited information. Magnificent. Transfer between Aosagi Island and Mount Akakura. The transfers from Aosagi Island to Mount Akakura do not occur at predetermined intervals, but completely at random. However, when it comes to the transfers from Mount Akakura to Aosagi Island, the phenomenon maintains for a duration of 33 minutes before coming back. Those transfers do not occur at the exact point in time, but rather within a period of 1 year in between them. In other words, they happen between the periods of 2011 and 12, which would mean that the time jump in the personality exchange happens together, right? Enomoto used his finger to push the bridge of his sunglasses up to his nose and slowly nodded. Precisely. On the outside, that is.
That meant that my reasoning wasn't just mere speculation and that it wasn't too far from the truth. Even so, there are a number of things that I don't understand. No, you could say that there are a whole lot of things I don't understand. Well, that's a matter of course. To start off, what's causing the phenomenon?
Cutting straight to the chase, eh? Fine, I suppose.
Enomoto stood up from his chair and walked towards the supercomputer.
It's because of this device.
Saying that, Enomoto placed his hand on it.
Because of this process of this device, the phenomenon is allowed to recur. Explanation over.
Sorry, but I have no idea what you mean. What is this device? How does it work? In the first place, does that put a stop to the phenomenon? What if it was in mid-operation, for example, the device stopped while a personality exchange was still occurring? It'd be very bad, wouldn't it?
Slow down for a moment, could you not ask so many questions at once? Let's go in order, alright? First, about the later issue, there's no need to concern. Sphere is equipped with its own generator. A personal power supply, in other words.
Enomoto inclined his jaw towards an iron door to the left. With this much space, it might actually be possible.
Moreover, if worse comes to worse, you'll switch to a backup power supply. A backup power supply is sufficient to provide several hundreds of hours worth of electricity. Probability of an accident is occurring is, very small amount. Next, about the former of your two main concerns. Can the details wait until later? If I don't explain it in order, it'll be more difficult for me.
Understood. I still have other questions. About the moon, the phase of the moon was the same at both Mount Sakura in 2011 and 2012. More specifically, they were both in the correct phase of the year. About the ocean. Mount Sakura, after climbing out of the bowl-shaped hollow, I saw an ocean there. Moreover, at Aosagi Island, when I opened the front gate of Sphere, there was an ocean waiting there. What does it mean?
For answer that, there's something I must ask. You seem to be misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding?
It's not a personality exchange that you two are ongoing. Your personalities aren't what's being transferred.
What?
What's really being transferred is space.
What? How does that make sense?
Huh? Space itself is being transferred. To be specific, it's a space that leaps through time and is transferred, in other words. It's a space-time transfer.
Space-time transfer?
Yes.
Having said that, Inamoto once again took a seat and began typing something out of the keyboard. As he did, images began to appear on a nearby monitor. In other words, the reasoning you've been able to derive goes something like this, doesn't it? Fuyukawa Cocoro, who exists as the Mount Akakura of the year 2011, and you, Yukidoh Satoru, who exists on the Sago Island in the year 2012. Both of your consciousnesses are released from the... Sorry, hang on. There we go. Both of your consciousnesses are released from their respective bodies, jump through space and enter each other's. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just like this. And so you possess the body of Fuyukawa Cocoro in the year 2011, and likewise Fuyukawa Cocoro possess yours. Personality exchange. This is how you thought of it, right? Or am I wrong?
That's right.
However, there are things that this doesn't explain. You're referring to the moon and the ocean, correct?
Yeah.
Of course, they're contradictions.
Inamoto snickered.
I'll say it once more, but you've been misunderstanding. This line of thinking is incorrect. A space-time
transfer, you say? Just what does that mean?
This.
Inamoto tapped at the keyboard again. The monitor began to display a different image.
The year 2011, Mount Akira Fuyukawa Cocoro. And the year 2012, Aosage Island, Yukidoh Satoru. The initial conditions are the same as before, but here's what differs. In the phenomenon that they're currently experiencing, it's not your personality that transfers.
You said it was space itself transferring before, didn't you?
Yes. A space with a radius of 110 meters, with the Mount Akakura emergency shelter cabin in the center. And Asagi Island's sphere at the center of space with the same radius of 110 meters. Everything within the 110 meter radius of the sphere is transferred. Every last thing within the two spheres changes place between the same 2 points, between the years 2011-2012. Just like this. What? This is a phenomenon called space-time transfer. Like this, you have 110 meter spherical enclosure around the shelter cabin.
So that's why it's still snowy, because it's around a bubble, and so it acts as if it's still in that area. But when they leave the bubble, they're on the outside in the ocean area, I'm guessing.
Or you could just call it a circle instead. And so outside the shelter cabin circle lies the ocean of Aosagi Island.
But wait a second. What about me and Cocoro? Why are my bodies and Cocoro switching places? What about the moon? The moon I saw on the 13th was the same one as this one on the year 2012.
You two are the exception.
An exception?
Your consciousnesses don't transfer. They remain in their original space.
Remain?
Watch.
Inamoto pointed at the monitor. The image changed without me noticing.
On the verge of a transfer, your and Fuyukawa Cocoro's consciousness alone separate from their bodies and remain in place. Your consciousness at Aosagi Island in the year 2012, and Fuyukawa Cocoro's at Mount Akura in year 2011. And while your consciousness is separated from their bodies and remain, everyone else is completely transferred.
Oh. Oh, that's fucked up. Wow. Are you serious? Wow. Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, that makes so much sense. So basically, there are two areas, the past and the future. And in Aosagi Island in 2012, the supercomputer's made a bubble around itself. But since the supercomputer's in sphere, it's a bubble around sphere. So it's a 100-meter bubble. And so the supercomputer, at random, because they're doing random tests, I'm guessing, transports this area with an area from the past to see if it works. And so for 33 minutes at a time, because that's how long it can do it without, well, I don't know what, it goes to that area. But for some reason, Kokoro's and Satoru's minds stay where they are and don't transport with it. So their bodies transfer, but their minds don't, and so the mind gets stuck into the other person's body. Oh. But what happens when they leave the bubble? Because the only time they've ever left the bubble is when they're in their own respective bodies. So what would happen if Cocoro were to leave the bubble while in Sphere, and vice versa for Satoru? Oh wait, no. That doesn't make sense. What? No! That makes no sense at all. There's a contradiction. Because Satoru, when he was Cocoro, he left the bubble and he saw the ocean. Meaning it's not space that's being transported. I mean, it is. But the bubble is... how should I say this? It's making two realities. It is taking... like, it is transporting itself to where the 2011 area is. And the 2011 area is going where it is. But in both realities, the same outside is outside the circle. Because I was originally thinking, okay, so if Asagi goes to where the mountains is, and the mountains goes to where Asagi is, and you're in the Asagi area that's now in the mountain area, and you walk out, you'd be in the mountains, because that's what it shows here. You'd walk out into the mountains. But Satoru walked out and he saw the ocean, meaning in both realities, it's the same outside. It's always going to be Asagi Island. Ooh. I'm not sure if that's important or not. Anyway. Which... looks a bit like this. You in Fuyukawa's body and Fuyukawa Cocoro in your body. Well, as sharp as you are, you understand now, don't you? This is the truth of the transference phenomenon you're undergoing. I don't believe this. I'm sorry, but the reason I'm not believing this, even though it sounds so believable, is because Utsami said not to believe anyone. So I'm not going to believe him. I'm going to take his word, and I'm going to try to understand things using this, but I'm not going to believe him. This is the truth. This is the truth, the transference phenomenon you're undergoing. That's why I always saw the year 2012's moon. Precisely. And Murder said, nodding his head, nodding as he did. Why? Why, it's only our consciousnesses that remain. I don't understand. I said barely above a whisper. Who knows? I wonder what it means. I didn't expect it in Naruto's response. The inside of my head was in total chaos. As soon as one question was solved, another rose to take its place, and another, continuing on without end. Solving one puzzle only brought forth another. There was no end. These mysteries were inexhaustible. On and on and on and on. Around and around it went in an endless circle. Quantum teleportation. I don't believe it. Somehow this is going to be possible. However, it's actually happening. It's actually happening, is it? However, it's actually happening, is it not? You should know better than anyone else whether it's real or not. No matter how much you think about it, no truth will appear. Don't let yourself be trapped by so-called common sense. Take in what you feel, no matter how absurd it is. And the artist stared at me over his sunglasses. Couldn't look away. There's no way he's lying. That understanding came from... not from my head, but from a deeper instinct. But why is such a ridiculous phenomenon occurring in the first place? Oh dear, there should be no need for me to explain this in the first place, but there's no helping it. It'll be long, so I'll try to summarize where I can. And Naruto repositioned his sunglasses. Have you ever heard of quantum teleportation? Not really. I know what it is, I just want to find out the exact his version. I see, so I'll have to start from there. Quantum teleportation is a technique based on the properties of quantum mechanica. If you don't understand those words, you can always look them up in the tips. What's the tips? Oh, just leave it to the player. Teleportation, the ability
is almost instantaneously transport an object to a different location. No, transport an object isn't quite correct. To be more accurate, it's not the object that is transferred, but the information which composes it. There is no need for them to move the object itself. What you want to transfer is the sum total of the object's present physical state, but not the state itself. Transmitting the quantum information of a system, then reconstructing at a different location. You may not believe this, but it is a realistic possibility. It can be undone. It can even prove it to you. The theoretical basis of quantum teleportation lies in the concept known as an EPR pair. EPR pairs are born from simultaneous generation of particular pairs. These twin particles share a curious fate. Put simply, no matter how far apart the twin particles are spatially, any influence on the state of one particular is instantaneously transmitted to the other, even if, for example, the distance between the pair is tens of thousands of light years. So in the other words, a transmission of information which exceeds the speed of light. Yes. What it means is that for all intents and purposes, those two particles cannot be treated as two separate units, but as one. Now, with that general concept in place, I'll continue. Enomoto pushed his sunglasses up again and turned back to the keyboard. Teleportation. In other words, the transfer of something from one location to another, thus both a sender and receiver are necessary. For the sake of convenience, let's call the sender Alice and the receiver Bob. Now I'll show you the process by which information is transmitted from Alice to Bob via quantum teleportation. Operating the keyboard, Enomoto pulled up a large on the monitor. Firstly, the EPR pair. Let's give a pair of entwined particles, particle B. So let's introduce particle A. Say Alice wants to send this particle A, which is the state, to Bob. Generally, Alice doesn't know what is the actual state of whatever, because if she did, its wave function would collapse. Now Alice must collocate particle with Bob. Next, the Bell measurement. Alice performs a special measurement called a Bell measurement on particles A and B. To put it simply, the process is about measuring the parameters describing the sum of their respective states. So Alice determines their Bell state. That is to say, one of the 4 different quantum states of the now entwined particle pair AB. But she still has no idea of the state of plug, I'm gonna call it because it looks like a plug. Furthermore, these states theoretically share the same probability of being obtained, namely 1/4 for each state. That is, could be any of the 4. Next, particle A is transported. The moment Alice makes her measurement, the distinction between particle A and B are lost. They become one, and the original EPR pair entanglement is broken. But at the same time, the half of EPR pair Bob has partially collapses and the state migrates to particle C. However, until Bob learns the result of the Bell measurement, he won't be able to recreate the state of the sent particle. So the next step is to communicate the results of the Bell measurement. Alice sends Bob the results of the measurement she obtained. The means of communication this time can be more orthodox, say a phone call or a letter, a transmission occurring below the speed of light. And then the final step is the transformation of the quantum state. Using the results of the Bell measurements Bob was informed of, he applies a unitary transformation to the particle C in his possession, namely an operation which does not harm the information. The result of the state Alice wanted to send to Bob was successfully reproduced on Bob's side. Thus, the vital information finally reaches its destination. And this is how the protocol of quantum teleportation works. Here I showed you an experiment using only a single EPR pair, but of course multiple pairs are possible as well. You can arbitrarily add an Alice 2, Alice 3, and so on, and so forth up to Alice N. That's about as simple an explanation as I can give. Originally, quantum teleportation couldn't transfer things like humans. Many thought it could only be used to transfer photons and atoms and other atomic particles. Resume the game from here. Oh, you can do that. Didn't know that. However, the technology developed by the business enterprise I belong to has made it possible. What we transfer is the state of atoms disassembled, the quantum information of human bodies. By the way, the original quantum information is lost fast after the transfer. In the case of inanimate objects, the transfer would only create a copy of the object, but when humans are transferred, the original human disappears inside the circle of transmission. They die and then reconstruct themselves at the reception point. At first glance, it may seem as if your soul has left its body. This is the true nature of phenomenon I mentioned earlier, wherein you lose the containers you call bodies. Getting back to the point, the quantum teleportation construction is established at two different points. Mutual transfers between them becomes possible. Whoops. Mount Cocoro and Aosagi Island both. The quantum information is transferred between them. Have you found my explanation understandable?
Once he finished talking, Yamamoto exhaled and brought the coffee cup to his lips.
How unpleasant. It's gone completely cold.
I see. I understand that the space-time transfer is actually quantum teleportation. Though I don't know what quantum teleportation and transferring through space and time have to do with each other. Especially time, traveling through space aside, how is it possible to travel through time?
I thought you might ask. Very well. Then I'll continue my explanation.
Yamamoto lowered his cup.
First, a device for enabling space-time transfer exists. It's the same as which I stated before. Space-time transfer device. That's what I call it. The device acts as a source that brings forth the EPR pairs particles, measures those particles, and then transfers them to the reception point. It's the heart of the space-time transfer, so to speak. A technical explanation would be fine.
What? Technical explanation would be fine. What I want to hear isn't some...
I know. Don't get so worked up.
Yamamoto held up a hand to command silence before continuing.
The device possesses one additional ability, and that is the ability to bend time.
Bend time?
Correct. It's restricted to a predefined space, however.
I don't know what you mean. Exactly how are you saying bending time and jumping through time and space related?
Well, I'll skip the theoretical bits, but in short it's this.
Yamamoto tapped something into the keyboard.
This figure represents time and space as a two-dimensional diagram. The y-axis represents time, and the x-axis represents space, specifically the latitude of each location.
And then?
Think of the red marker as the Mount Cocoro, and this blue marker is Aosagi. Both exist at the same time axis, but in different locations. If we move both spaces into the plus region of the y-axis, it becomes like this. At the time in which the 2-point exists, changes from 2011 to 2012. This is the normal passage of time we experienced. You understand this much, right?
No problems yet.
As you can see, Mount Cocoro and Aosagi Island exist on the same time axis, and nothing stands in the way of transfer between them.
That's right.
However, at the moment it's more like this. The Mount Cocoro which Fuyukawa exists is the year 2011, and Aosagi Island where we currently stand is the year 2012. Not only space, but the time axis differs as well. Like the transfers is impossible. The twin particles are unable to jump between the 2 points, and the results of the measurements not be transferred between the sending and receiving ends.
In other words, the conversions of quantum information can't occur.
That's exactly it.
Then what do? No? How does it happen?
The 2 coordinates points are connected by a single line, a link between them. For the time being, let's call that line T.
Dot.
But that won't help anything.
That won't help anything, will it?
You still don't understand. I told you before.
Oh, it is T dash, okay.
The device can bend time.
That's impossible. A smile floated to Yamamoto's face.
Muttering, that's right,
Yamamoto began typing on his keyboard, and the image on the screen changed. Shown there was the image of the y-axis time slanted and the line marked T perpendicular to it.
According to this theory, no, you can see how it's a matter of fact. The 2 points can exist on the same time axis. That solves the problems we had before in one fell swoop. The conditions for the transfer of quantum information have been met. Like this Mount Akira circle in the year 2011 and the Osagi Island circle in 2012 can transfer back and forth over and over again. Okay?
The ramblings of a fool, really honestly, seriously, maddening, and cursedly unrealistic bunch of crap. However, it was the truth, or embodied experience time and time again. No matter how unbelievable it was as mere theory, it is unmistakably the reality. And that's why my comprehension was really honestly, seriously, maddeningly, accursedly being torn apart. My mind still struggled violently against the very notion.
It seems you still can't accept it. Oh well, shall I show you proof?
Of what?
The space-time transfer, of course. That said, it's impossible to demonstrate a large-scale transfer like what's happening to you. I have a prototype of the space-time transfer device right here. If I show you the device in action, then even you will be convinced, right?
Saying that, Emerger disappeared through a 9-door beside the supercomputer. After a while, he returned holding a complicated-looking piece of equipment.
This is the prototype of the space-time transfer device. I'll give you a rough explanation. Inside the box in the middle is the origin of the APR pair, where the particles entwine with each other on a quantum level. And these two boxes at either side represent Alice and Bob, the sender and the receiver.
Enough showing off. I'll understand once I see it. Get started already.
That's enough, is it? Then let's put some nice hot coffee inside Alice and Bob, shall we?
2 cups of coffee were in Emerger's hands. One was a white cup and a white saucer. The coffee inside had milk in it. The other was a black cup and black saucer. The coffee inside was black. Emerger placed 1 cup in each of the Alice and Bob boxes and switched on the device. With a dull whine, it began to operate.
By the way, Alice is the Mount Akira from 2011, and the white saucer is Mount Akira's transfer circle. So think of the white cup as Fuyukawa, while Bob is the black cup will be you, Yukidoh.
I see, and? Emerger then brought Bob's coffee cup to his lips.
Delicious. Coffee is most definitely best black, and freshly brewed at that. On the other side,
Emerger then put the cup back in place. Sam took a sip from Alice's coffee.
Coffee with milk in it is the worst. Coffee can't even be called coffee anymore once it's been contaminated like this.
Frowning, Emerger returned the cup.
Don't you agree?
This conversation's kind of straying off topic.
It's not true, this is an essential part of the process. So how about it? Do you enjoy your coffee black or with milk?
With milk. With milk, isn't it obvious? Coffee without milk is like steak with no sauce. Besides, isn't black coffee hot in your stomach? You won't have a long life drinking that all the time, you know?
Mind your own business. Our opinions don't match at all.
Emerger said with a bitter smile.
Well, once you have a sip, confirm it with your own tongue.
This? I asked while pointing at the Alice. At Alice and Bob coffees with my finger.
The coffee that you drink? That's right. Don't worry, there isn't a poison in it. I drink it too, right? And I don't have any strange illnesses either. My motives are pure. Relax. Well, I won't force you.
Is it that important that I drink this just for the sake of proof?
Of course.
I looked back and forth between the 2 cups of coffee. I'll drink.
Took a timidly sip from each coffee in turn.
How is it?
How is it? The eldest one, in other words, the one with milk, is distinctly better.
I answered, returning the coffee to its place.
I see, very well. Then let's continue.
Continue? What am I supposed to do?
You don't need to do anything, just watch.
Emerger and I kept a tight watch over the device.
It sure doesn't look like it. No, just watch.
Emerger checked his wristwatch.
Any moment now.
Oh! For a moment, Alice transformed. In an instant, the cup went from white to black. The coffee inside became black as well. It transferred.
And the coffee inside the cup is exactly the future. The information inside Bob's cup from 1 minute in the future has transferred alongside Alice's. And in just 1 minute...
Ooh.
Bob's cup transferred as well. The cup and saucer went from black to white. Now there was milk in the coffee. Past, the information of Alice's cup from 1 minute in the past is transferred to Bob's, the future. It's precisely it. You understand quite well.
This is
a transfer, quantum teleportation. Now then, take a sip from each of them and comparing them again.
Huh?
Just do it. You'll understand what you drink.
Trying to set aside my doubts, I took another sip from each.
How is it now?
Alice says, in other words, the black coffee was really good. Naruto smiled in satisfaction.
What does this even mean? You don't understand, do you? Even though the material of the cup has changed, the concept of its deliciousness remains. Doesn't this remind you of something?
Consciousness.
Yes, the residual consciousness phenomenon. Even your bodies and surroundings change pace. Your consciousness would remain where it was. Here ends the demonstration.
Wait, trying to explain with something as vague as taste? Are you saying the taste is unreliable?
That's right, taste is subjective, and can change completely depending on how you feel at the time. Well, I can't deny that.
Oh, was Satoru saying that?
Well, I can't deny that. I told you before, didn't I? Even if you think about it, the truth won't appear. Don't let yourself be trapped by so-called common sense. Take in what you feel.
But that's...
Then let me ask a supplementary question. What is the meaning behind the repetitions in this transfer? How can you explain it?
I was truly at a loss for words. Destruction. I'm gonna go back, because there was some things that I didn't do. Okay. I have.
That's convenient. That's convenient, then I'll omit the part of the explanation.
Okay. Black.
Black isn't obvious.
I don't take sugar either. The bitterness is what makes coffee coffee.
I see, our opinions really do match.
Naruto said happily.
Well, once you have a sip, confirm with your own tongue.
Of this? I also pointing at the Alice and Bob coffees. Don't drink.
No, I won't drink it.
Is that so? Well, I guess that's fine.
Let's continue.
Continues?
I'll try to compare the two coffees again.
Why? Not answering, Naruto took another sip from the coffee.
It's not bad for milk, either. Now it's the black that feels like it's missing something.
Isn't the opposite of what you said a few minutes ago?
That's why we experienced the reality, so there's no helping it. It's a shame that you didn't sample the coffee. My demonstration isn't as effective without audience participation. At any rate, here ends the demonstration. Just obediently take it in.
Okay.
Do you believe me now?
Believe, he says.
With this, I had no choice but to believe him. It's in my nature to be skeptical of things, but between everything I'd experienced up until now and the phenomenon that just occurred right before my eyes, there was no room for doubt. This is no matter what anyone may say reality. But it's already been decided this space-time transfer phenomenon is the truth. It creates another real question. And that's, why? I utter. What do you mean, why?
Why is something like this necessary? Why is space-time transfer?
It's because of this phenomenon, because of this ridiculous phenomenon. We. How much suffering, how much pain have we had to bear? Being pushed to our limits with the Grim Reaper ever breathing down our neck. Stuck in this ongoing turmoil, Cocoro and I have been driven right to the verge of madness.
Mota didn't answer, not saying a thing, and continued staring at me.
Answer me. Why would you do such a ridiculous thing?
Laughter. He laughed.
His shoulders shook as he laughed,
as though it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard.
What's so funny? But it is funny. Terribly, extraordinarily funny. So funny I couldn't help myself. After all, I never expected to hear that line from you, of all people. Pardon me. For the current you, such a question is only a matter of course. Then allow me to answer. Space-time transfer, the reason the entire thing began, the purpose of it. That is...
Naruto suddenly raised his finger towards me.
That is something you should know better than anyone, right?
What? My voice cracked.
It took all I had just to say that. The reason is something I should know better than anyone. That's my answer. There's no point in saying anything more.
At that moment, something completely different popped into my mind. But the various problems I need to solve, I'd combine them into one larger thingamajig. Personality transfer. The goals I have at both Asagi, something in Hattori. I thought, and suddenly realized. Rather than I realized, I remembered I'd forgotten all about it. Proposition R had yet another part. About me, the person known as Yukidoh Satoru. I didn't know anything about who I was. Hey, what is it? At the moment I lost myself. As though the strings of a marionette had suddenly been taken up by someone else. I lost all control over my body. Calm down. You won't solve a thing by going berserk. Shut up. Nothing matters anymore. I don't care about any of it. Everything. I'll end everything here. What are you saying? Hey, snap out of it. Murta tried to regain his hold over me. Don't touch me. He slapped his hands away. Don't you dare touch me. I had the large machine beside a Murta, central part of the facility, the system supercomputer. I'm sure that's... It's this, right? This is the source, right? What? This is the space-time transit device, isn't it? And I'll break it. I'll destroy it completely. I'll end this idiotic farce for good. Thrusting a Murta aside, I struck the supercomputer with a ferocious roundhouse kick. However, it was sturdier than I'd expected. I didn't even make a dent. Damn it. Kicked it twice and 3 times without hesitation. Let alone dented it, hadn't even managed to scratch it. This thing sure is durable. Hey, stop it, cut it out! Murta pinned me down. He moved to secure both my arms behind my back. Give it up. Destroying it won't change a thing. Transfers won't stop. Shut up, let me go! Stay out of my way! Wrenching my body with all my strength, I shook Murta off. Murta fell to his back. At the moment, his sunglasses flew off. Stop it. Shut up! I glimpsed the chair out of the corner of my eye. I'd smash it with that. Because it exists. Because the damn computer exists. Everyone's suffering all because of this damn computer. Damn it, go to hell! Told you to stop! Murta suddenly leapt to his feet, unleashing a deranged scream at me. Are you trying to ruin... What? Trying to ruin all my plans? Next instant, Murta blocked my path to the supercomputer with terrific speed. A chill ran down my spine. I could feel a bloodthirsty aura. Reflexively, I lifted the chair and hauled it towards Murta. Murta nimbly turned, deflecting the flying chair with one kick. As you are right now, you're a dangerous variable. I can no longer allow you to go freely. You insolent nuisance. In Murta's eyes was the clear intent to kill. He was no longer the calm, collected man he'd been before. Conversely, seeing a Murta like that forced me to return to my senses. Cold sweat trickled down my back. This is bad. Warning signals lit up in my brain. And Murta thrust his hand into his breast pocket as he glared at me. A switchblade? And Murta gripped... What the hell? And Murta gripped it in his hand. I'd rather avoid doing this, but you left me no other choice. This feeling... It was the same feeling I felt before, a killing intent as cold as ice. Was it him all along? Have you prepared yourself? Yukidoh Satoru, I'm gonna erase you. And Murta suddenly narrowed his eyes. I'll kill you. Raising the knife high overhead, Murta attacked me. Immediately reversing direction, I dashed for the door. I had to run. I flew out the door and into the basement storeroom. Total darkness greeted me. For some reason, the lights in the basement were off. And Murta cut the power? It doesn't matter right now. At any rate, I had to get out of here as soon as possible. At that moment, I thought that. I tripped over a wooden box. Ugh. Damn it, I lost my balance and fell. The concrete floor rose up before my eyes. As though I was falling into slow motion. Am I going to die? Those words scrolled through my mind. There we go. Insanity. Alright, well, I'm going to take a break because I've been recording for about 8 hours today. But we're finally getting into it, and I think when I come back tomorrow, we'll be finishing this pretty soon. So... Obviously, I was wrong about heaps of things. but I do believe that the space-time transfer is what's going on. And I was thinking, there was two contradictions. One of them I turned that I was wrong. The one I was wrong about was, I remember him saying the transfer only transfers things in a 100-meter radius. But the area of sphere is 628 meters, I think, Satoru said. But he may have said something else. He may have said, like, I don't know, 100 kilometers or something. I don't know. Or maybe 1,000 meters. I don't remember. But I think I was wrong about that. The thing that I wasn't wrong about, though, was a contradiction. And I figured a way around this. But basically, the contradiction was, if we think of 2011 having a circle around it, but no matter what, the outside is the mountains. And 2012 has a circle around it, and no matter what's outside, it's always the ocean. And the insides were to switch. 2011 would always have the mountains to the outside, and 2012 would always have the outside as as the ocean. Now, Satoru would always be in 2012 because his consciousness does not move from that area. So him going outside in the mountains and also in Sphere, it's obvious why he would see the ocean, because he's always in 2012. He always sees the ocean. But Kuroko, she saw the ocean, yet she should always be in the 2011 area. That was a contradiction. However, I did find a way around this. I figured something must happen later on, where Satoru works out a loophole. And he leaves the circle area, he leaves the limit of the circle. Supercomputer goes off. I don't know how, because the guy dies. We already know he dies, because Kuroko comes back and sees the dead body on the ground. So I'm not sure if Satoru set a timer and just ran, or maybe he had someone else do it, like Uni, but he leaves the area, most likely, and everything warps. And so he's on the ocean. But when he heads back, the cabin is there, because it's changed. And that's how he meets up with everyone, I think. That's what I think is going to happen later on. But otherwise, that's just what I think. Other than that, I don't really know what's going on, because I'm not sure why there's two unis. Also, one thing I should mention is, I was going back through my footage of the end of Kuroko's, chapter, and I noticed that the scene where you find the dead girl in the snow, when the screen is about to transition away, her finger moves, meaning she's still alive. And my friend told me about this, so I actually went back to watch it, and it creeped the hell out of me, because she actually moves her finger. It's so subtle, but I was looking at her, and taking away the paleness, because obviously she's in the cold, she resembles Utsumi. Like, the hair and everything, it's just she has different clothes on. And I was like, is the Utsumi in Sphere fake? I don't know. I feel like she is. And if that's the case... Oh my god, I just realized that. Oh my god. Okay, I just got a random thought. I really don't want this to go on forever, so I'll just end it off here. But, before I end it off, I think I know why there's two unis. And it might be, if we're going to call the girl in the snow second Utsumi, that means there's two Utsumi, so I wonder. I think I know why there could be two of them. Is it possible that, when you switch time and space, that someone would be able to walk out and stay in that new time zone? Is that possible? I wonder. Because remember how I said that I think this uni at the cabin is just a future uni? That could be completely possible now. It could be that the uni, what do you call it? Because keep in mind, the circle thing only started when the crash started, and that's why Satoru woke up in Kuroko's body, and Kuroko woke up in Satoru's body. So, if we're going to think of this properly, it would mean that everyone else was technically in the 2012 area. Meaning, if someone were to walk out besides, Satoru in Kuroko's body, or okay, I'm explaining this wrong. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, in the cabin area, at the start of the plane crash, when Yamagi was saving Maizuri, and stuff like that, he never ran into Uni. He never ran into Uni. He ran into Uni later on. Uni was the one that found him and helped him to the cabin, anonymously. And he was also the reason they went back to... I think he was the reason they went back to help Kuroko. But at that time, it was Satori in Kuroko's body. Meaning, space-time was in effect, meaning for everyone besides Satoru who was in Kuroko's body, if they were to walk out of the area, they'd appear in the ocean because their consciousness switched places with their bodies as well. They won't stay in the same position as everyone else, as Kuroko's and Satoru's was. Meaning, what if the reason Yamagi didn't find Uni is because Uni actually walked out of the area? And thus, that's why he was at Sphere. Does that make sense? And so the Uni that's at Sphere, he doesn't know what's going on because he's literally the Uni that just faced it. But then, later on, sometime near the end of the game, I think, maybe, he gets sent back to the start of the time, to January whatever, the start of the plane crash, and that's why the Uni at the shelter cabin seems so much smarter. Does that make sense? Because that makes so much sense to me. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm going to leave this off here. I've been talking for too long. We will continue this next time. See ya.